Ever wanted to have a say in what movies are chosen for watch-alongs on YouTube channels? Do you want to have your voice heard? Are you disappointed in the channel owner's choices? Now you can. Dudates on Deck wants to know what content you want to see discussed. Stop by my live streams for your chance to pick the next watch-along I cover. Throw your hat in the ring when you give $5 or more in Super Chats during my next live stream.
Howdy, gang, and let me put my lovely overlay on here. And I was going to do Everybody Wants England, but then I thought, what the hey? I'm just going to do something kind of, sort of Thanksgiving related, just like I did with the cinematic turkeys from last night. This is going to be horror movies I'm thankful for. And you're probably thinking, horror movies you're thankful for? What in the world does that mean? Well, I'm going to tell you here in just a second, but before we get started with these movies and my explanation of why I'm thankful for them, and this is a series that's going to take place on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, leading up until Thanksgiving week. Okay. But if you were watching the Super Chat watch along connection commercial right before I came on here, then you might be a little befuddled. What's Dana doing now? What kind of thing is she doing now? Well, every time I have a live stream, you will have a chance to pick an upcoming watch along film. Okay? So if you've been dying to see me do a watch along for a movie of your choosing, here is your chance. And you can make me watch the most god awful thing that you want to. Okay? Because I will be required to if you give a super chat of $5 or more during each one of my live streams I do. Okay? So we already have the movies picked for this weekend, okay? But the fun keeps on going and going and going because, just like the Energizer Bunny, and as long as I can keep going. If you give at least a $5 super chat tonight or in any other live streams I do, if you're the only one that does it, man, you get to pick the next watch along that has an open slot in it. Okay. If two people give super chats, then one person will get to pick the movie for Saturday. The other person will get to pick the movie for Sunday. Now, if it's three people or more, that's where it gets a little more competitive. That is when I will have to do a drawing for it. Okay. So, get those super chats in when you can. I'm not saying you don't support the channel if you don't do this, but this is a great way for as little as $5 that you can throw your hat in the ring and possibly get something out of it in addition to supporting the channel. So I wanted to give back to you guys for coming to all these live streams and stuff, and here's your chance, like I said, to throw your hat in the ring for a chance to pick an upcoming watch along film. Okay, and keep in mind, if just one or two people do it, then bam, they get to pick their movies. Okay, so this Saturday and Sunday, like I said, they're already chosen. Dakota gave a $5 super chat, and he was the only one for that night. So he picked Eli Ross Thanksgiving. So that's going to be Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Menelect gave a $10 super chat last night. So his pick was The Tunnel from 2011, which you can watch on Tubi, of course. So, albeit with commercials, but there's your way to watch it. So, The Tunnel is evidently a found footage horror film from Australia, I believe. So, all right. So now that I've explained all of that, we'll go ahead and get into the films that I want to talk about tonight. Okay. So the first one I want to talk about, I'm called the Evil Dead chick on YouTube as far as YouTube's concerned. And so, of course, a lot of you have heard me talk about The Evil Dead and how it's my all-time favorite horror movie ever. I have a lot of favorite horror movies, but this is the coup de grace for me. And it actually, this one didn't introduce me to Sam Raimi. Evil Dead 2 did, because I watched Evil Dead 2 before I watched this little gem. Okay. But I have to give credit where credit is due and start at the beginning with the Evil Dead, because even though I saw Evil Dead 2 first and loved it, the Evil Dead is a much, much darker film. It's what Joe Bob Briggs would call a spam in a cabin, because you have a bunch of college friends who go to a cabin in the woods, and they find some stuff in the cellar, a tape that has some chanting on it, and they find the Necronomicon, or the Book of the Dead, and they find this weird dagger and all this stuff, and they start, playing this reel-to-reel tape, and bad things start happening. The Deadites come out of the woods. Bruce Campbell's character's sister, played by Ellen Samwise, gets raped by a tree, folks. I ain't gonna lie. This movie doesn't pull any punches, and I have heard that Sam Raimi said if there's one thing that he wishes he could take out of a film, it would be that tree rape of Ellen Samwise in The Evil Dead. Now, if you've never seen The Evil Dead, you might not understand what I'm going on about, but if you want to check this movie out, try to find the 4 free options that you can find, even if that includes borrowing it from a friend or family member. Okay. I'm not telling you to go out and buy The Evil Dead, because it might not be a movie that you particularly like. However, it always has held a special place in my heart. The entire original trilogy, Evil Dead 2, and Army of Darkness, holds a big spot of fondness in my heart, my horror-loving heart, And it's a movie that I can watch any time of the year. It doesn't have to be Halloween. It doesn't have to be fall, although it feels like fall to me. This movie just feels like fall. It feels Halloweenish, And it's very, very gruesome and gory. The special effects by Tom Sullivan are fantastic, in my opinion. The blood flows like wine in this movie, and as Joe Bob would say, there's slime glopola going everywhere. And also, like Joe Bob says, he would refer to this as a spam in a cabin flick. The young people go into the cabin, but they don't come out necessarily, right? It's like the Roach Motel. They check in, but they don't check out, right? And this movie's also a lot of fun. You're probably thinking, well, Dana, how can this gruesome, gritty horror film be fun? Trust me, it's fun. you get the setup of the friends, having dinner together and cutting up and trying to spook each other. You have a little romantic interlude with Bruce Campbell and his girlfriend, played by Betsy Baker, where he gives her what Sam Raimi would refer to as the ugliest necklace ever. um, and it is not a real pretty necklace, and you can actually tell that they spray painted it silver, or painted it silver, and it's actually the paint is coming off on Betsy Baker's hands as she's holding it. Um, it's really low budget. Basically a bunch of friends got together and made this movie, essentially. A homegrown horror at its best. Okay. And I'm not really going to rate these movies because a lot of these movies y'all have heard me talk about over and over again. So I don't think that I need to rate them specifically on this stream. But I do want to tell you that I've loved The Evil Dead for years. I don't think anything's going to make me stop loving this film. At least I hope not. So The Evil Dead does hold a really kosher spot in the movies, or the horror movies, that I'm thankful for. Okay. So the other movie I want to talk about real quick here is WitchBoard, a Kevin Tenney film, the same guy that did Night of the Demons, right? But this was the first Kevin Tenney film I ever saw. It was also, and this is why I'm so thankful for this movie, this was the first movie I ever rented, and definitely the first horror movie I ever rented after my family got a VCR. So Dad took us to the video store, and I was perusing the horror shelves and came across this little gem, and took it home and was scared by it, fell in love with it. This was a movie that furthered, my horror education, my horror love. And I can't do anything but speak very highly of this film. So what's this film about? Well, this film stars Tawny Katane, God rest her soul. She's no longer with us. Also known as the White Snake video girl. I believe it was White Snake. Y'all feel free to correct me if I'm wrong on that. Because I think she was dating one of the guys in the band at one time. So, very attractive woman. So the movie starts out with this couple, Tawny Katane and her boyfriend, are having a party, and they have a mutual friend played by Stephen Nichols, who is kind of snobbish and ritzy and stuff like that, and corrects people a lot. But you kind of grow to love the character as the film goes on. But Jim, Tawny Katane's boyfriend, her name is Linda. Linda's boyfriend, Jim, played by Todd Allen. Him and Stephen Nichols' character used to be friends, and then they stopped being friends because of a love triangle with them two and Linda. Okay, because Linda used to date Stephen Nichols' character, and then she broke it off with him and started dating Jim. So, a little bit of a history with them. So they're having this party, and Stephen Nichols' character has a Ouija board. And he does correct this guy when he calls it a Ouija. He says, no, it's Ouija. And so they start playing with it, and there's a little bit of a scuffle between Jim and Stephen Nichols' character. And they evidently make the spirits angry and they bust Stephen Nichols' tires on his car, and he's really mad, and he leaves in a huff and leaves his Ouija board behind. And Linda unfortunately gets obsessed with the Ouija board and starts playing with it by herself. And she thinks she's contacting the spirit of a little boy. Turns out she's contacting somebody called Malfador, who is not a very nice person, and he ends up possessing Linda slowly over time, and she becomes the victim of progressive entrapment, which is a phrase that is mentioned quite often during the movie. Kathleen Wilhite is also in this. Is this quirky psychic, or the psychic medium, and I just, I just love this movie. It's creepy when it needs to be creepy. It's funny when it needs to be funny. It has some startling moments that'll have you laughing 1 second and screaming the next, or going, ooh. So this movie has it all. I think Kevin Tenney did a fantastic job with this film. And there's a whole heck of a lot of 80s nostalgia with me for this film. And it's a movie I remember watching with my family too. And people probably think that is weird, but you would have to know my family to understand how we could watch these types of films together, right? So if you want a fun, creepy horror film, that's great to watch with friends, great to watch with family members that enjoy these types of films. I wouldn't watch it with somebody that doesn't like horror films because they might get mad at you. But other than that, this is it's low budget, but it's also a very well-rounded horror film, if I can use that term. Um, but so both of these films, The Evil Dead and WitchBoard, hold a special place in my heart as far as horror movies go. And I hope that I've done a pretty decent job of explaining to you why I'm thankful for these two particular horror films. And I hope to be able to, hey, Blissful, I hope to be able to come up with some more and come up with some interesting stories surrounding the two films that I pick for next Tuesday's show. And I want to thank everybody that was watching. I did see a few people that were watching. I want to thank Blissful for popping into the chat. Now, I'm sorry that these aren't quite as long as some other things I've done. But again, I'm on here by myself. So I tend to not want to ramble on too much. Nobody gave any super chats tonight, but there will be another chance for you to throw your hat in the ring to be able to pick an upcoming watch along movie. Okay. So, and remember, it's $5 or more. For as little as $5, a super chat, you can throw your hat in the ring and choose a movie for me to do an upcoming watch along on. Okay. And remember, this weekend's watch along movies have already been chosen. Dakota picked Eli Roth's Thanksgiving. That will be Saturday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And Sunday's offering was picked by Menelec, who gave a $10 super chat last night. And his pick was The Tunnel from 2011, a found footage horror film from Australia that you can watch on Tubi, by the way. And so I guess that is it from me for tonight. But I want to thank everybody once again that was watching this. I want to thank everybody that will watch this on the replay. I want to thank Blissful for being in here in the chat. And as always, I'm off like a dirty shirt. This shirt ain't dirty, but I'm off like one. And I want to remind everybody, as I always do before I get off of here for the night, to be kind to one another and blaze that trail. Have a fantastic rest of your Tuesday, folks. And I will be back tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for an apples and oranges. I'm going to try to come up with a good topic to cover for apples and oranges, hopefully, kind of with the Thanksgiving theme. So I'm out of here for now, but I'll see everybody next time.